Okay, and we are live. I want to thank all our viewers, people catching us live, both on politicsandguns.com and on our YouTube and Google Plus page. Of course, this is a Polite Society podcast. We record live every Sunday at this time from ABN Army Surplus. I want to thank our sponsors for helping to bring the show to you, and of course, that is ABN Army Surplus here. Gary, you can see over here, is provides the place for us to record. We also have as sponsors, we have Concealment Solutions, of course, Firearms Safety Institute. Gary Doherty over there is sitting in today as well. We have NJ2AS, and we have the good folks over there at Crusader Weaponry. So, and I feel like I'm forgetting one, but thanks to everybody for providing sponsorship for the show. They keep you coming at you for free. So. What we're going to be doing, we're going to, instead of kicking off right at the beginning of the show, we're going to start the interview section first. Kevin Coyne, is that how it's pronounced?
Perfect, yep.
Kevin Coyne is going to be here, and we're going to be recording that interview first, and then we'll do the rest of the show after that. Just basically, folks, for the people, for our staff here, Kevin is the. Now, are you a leader, or how do I I need to know how to introduce you when we go into the interview.
All right, you asked me to come here this afternoon because me and two other guys were wearing
militia stuff,
a uniform,
right?
And you asked me what that was all about, and I thought about it between yesterday and now. And the one thing that I didn't want it to become about was what I said, the whole prairie dogs things. That, to me, that's just a platform. That's just the beginning phases of, it's not me being in control of anything. It's just wanting to have a recognized militia within the state.
Okay.
How do we introduce you to that?
Just ask Kevin Coyne?
Just say Kevin Coyne.
Okay, I can do
that's
that.
Who I am.
Okay, I can do that. All right, everybody ready to go?
Yeah. I'm ready.
Let's talk about the militia.
Hey, Gary.
Militia.
All right.
Yeah.
And remember, when we go in, you got to talk. You got to be real close to the mic.
Okay.
So.
I don't want to overpower anybody because I can get that way.
No, believe me, I'm watching levels. Yeah, we are a.
I'll try my best, folks.
We're a family-friendly show.
I am an Irish guy.
All right.
Nobody ever said I was born smart.
All right, here we go. Then I'm gonna hit the recorder and. Welcome back to the interview segment of the podcast. We are with Kevin Coyne. Kevin was out at Range Day with us yesterday. You heard about Range Day in the open of the show. But, Kevin, the reason I wanted to bring you in is because you and some friends were in you were kind of in a uniform. And I wanted to talk to you a bit about that. And we had a discussion about militia when you were when you were out shooting with us. So, first of all, the uniforms. What's up with... is there a militia in South Dakota?
There, to my knowledge, are several smaller groups within the state of South Dakota who are people who have banded together, whether it's 3 people or whether it's 10 people or maybe it's 25 people. Mm-hmm. There's always been a subculture of militia in South Dakota. Several years ago, the whole Tri-States militia thing went on, and what we're trying to do, when you just ask me about the militia is not us, it's not you, it's everyone. The militia is everyone. It doesn't matter whether you've been to the military or not. It doesn't matter whether you've done something great or not. It doesn't matter whether you're a combat vet. That doesn't matter. In corporate, there's the huge prepper, it's just prepping. And you know something? I love it because that's what I've done my entire life. Ever since I was 13 years old is prepped. Mm-hmm. And incorporating it, what I'm trying to do is to make people not fear it, like some people make other people fear it by doing silly things, explosives. It just, we could go into, I'm not going to name any other groups or anything like that. All we're trying to do is to create, and the mechanism is here in the state. In 2003, I think, the legislature voted, and there can be a South Dakota State Guard. And by point of fact, there used to be, and it was called the 1st South Dakota Volunteers. Google it, check it out. What we're trying to do is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I want to just make sure we're clarifying. We're not talking National Guard.
No. A militia is local. Whenever you say the word militia, you should either say local or be thinking local when you say militia. It's the local militia. Militias don't take up arms because of some perceived threat from our federal government, leave their home states and go to a completely different state. That's not a legitimate militia. Okay, I understand the Occupy movement. I understand protesting for things, but you can do that and go out there and protest, but you cannot you can't do that and equate yourself as a legitimate part of the militia, as defined by the Dick Act and a lot of other legislation that provides the structure, the framework for what should be the modern militia.
Okay. So then. We were talking yesterday a little bit, and basically what we were discussing is what the militia should be, and what it's designed to be, is basically a last defense for foreign invasion. And I mean, there are other, of course. And then I'm speaking my own opinion here now, but what I see a militia is twofold. Number one is the last defense of a foreign invasion. We're not the militia is not regular military, not designed to be regular military.
True.
And the second part is, and this is what the whole Second Amendment about, is making sure that governments, not only federal but state, fear the people.
That's affirmative.
So there is, I don't want to put you as the, but it's just there's a loose confederation of people that would like to get a recognized militia in South Dakota again. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very true. I mean, I don't understand exactly what the course is. I do know that in order to become, I mean, there's number one, legally, there's a mechanism for it in this state. It's there. It can be set up. What I don't understand is why some retired veteran from whatever persuasion, maybe a colonel, maybe a brigadier general type, and we've got to have one or two brigadier generals in this state. I mean, the adjutant general, the active adjutant general, is the determining factor for legitimacy when it comes to a militia. You have to be recognized by the adjutant general of the National Guard, because the militia is very closely associated with the National Guard because it's a part of the same house. It's just that the National Guard can be federalized and be turned into you can nationalize the National Guard, but you can't do that with the militia. The militia only answers to the governor of that state, and that's it. And it's defined legally. Every state either defines the militia as something that they will allow within the state, and our state constitution allows militias within the state. It does. And not only that, but the Second Amendment of our Constitution has that word in it, bold, bright, and beautiful. And it's not something to fear. It's something to espouse. It's something to embrace. It's something to, because it's all about being a part of the militia is all about doing your civic duties. Getting back to that, working within your community, creating something that's large enough to respond. just in case. And those are the three most important words that a prepper can understand, is just in case. And and so what we're trying to do is I started this thing. I got a bunch of responses. I found my sergeant, and he's a new friend in my life, and that's what this is all about. And I really like to think that the karma, or whatever you want to talk about, with the Great Plains Second Amendment Society, and just how we've all, we've only interacted, this is the third time.
Right.
But we're the same type of people. And I think overall we would agree mostly on things, or we could compromise on it on a civil level. Am I not?
Yeah.
Right. And so this is leading me to connect with this and a lot of other great people who are fighting to do the same thing. But bottom line, everybody belongs to the militia.
Now, one thing that I would say, I may be over speaking this, but in the general public, when you somebody who probably doesn't even listen to our show, might not be into gun rights, but just average Joe on the street, you mentioned militia, they're thinking things like Waco. They're thinking things like Ruby Ridge.
Well, sure. They're thinking. I'm not going to mention any group specifically, Paul. At this point, I've had communicated things based on what is happening with the militia movement in this country. Okay, and I'm very vocal about my views, and I wasn't born yesterday. Okay, and I can smell BS a mile away, and I understand law. I've read. I can read it for myself, and I understand what the structure of the militia should be. And it's not guys going somewhere to oppose something that the government's doing outside of their area of operations. The militia, each militia has an AO, and it's in their state. And that's it. The people, listen, in Nevada, the people that should have handled that, the militia that should have handled that whole thing in Nevada should have been the Nevada militia, right. Not people from Michigan, not people from... It should have been the Nevada militia that handled that. Unless the Nevada militia asked for help, and it wasn't anywhere close to that. They tried to create something, some type of confrontation with the government, and that's not what the militia is. The militia is completely separate from that. You don't overthrow the government. It's the government that allows you to exist as a militia as long as the government's working for you and allowing you to do it. Right? I'm a Jeffersonian. It's liberty, rightful liberty is the circle you draw around yourself and respecting the circle that everybody else draws around themselves. And that's what the militia is all about. It's not about building bombs. It's not about kidnapping law enforcement officials. It's not about raising a ruckus. It's all about defense, care, your community. That's what the militia is. It's all about community. And it's not a sin to call that kind of thing the militia.
Okay. Anybody else want to jump in?
I'm trying to wrap my head around this. You mentioned Nevada. There was a confrontation with the government. So, what are they doing if they're not in a confrontation with the government?
That's where people should be. If we could get to be a state-recognized organization where the state is recognizing us, then this is where I would like to go, is to create an organization that is recognized by the state of South Dakota, just like the Texas State Guard. It's the best example of how to create a citizen force for good. That's what the militia is. Yes, defense has defense has everything to play in it, because that's what a militia is. It's defense. It's never for attack. In the revolution, yes, because we were trying to repel foreign, you can go through the whole argument. Well, we were British, and yes, we were, and you know what I mean. It doesn't matter. There was a war. We're not at war with the federal government, and we can't be at war with the federal government. But what we can be is ready to protect our communities and band together and not hurt anybody. I mean, it's all a part of it. If you want to hug a tree or do whatever, it's fine. Just don't hurt nobody else. You know what I mean? And that's what the militia is. It's getting together. It's getting kids involved in the Second Amendment. It's getting kids out in hunting fields and everything. It's that whole South Dakota frame of mind. That's what it is. It's not any of these other things. I just hesitate to name any groups. There's no national command authority for the militia. None. Zero.
And there really shouldn't be.
No. It shouldn't be, because then it takes the place. It becomes a private army that way. Unless you allow control of it to be with the adjutant general and the governor of a state, you're not a militia. You're just an armed insurrectionist group. That's all it is. And you know something, Paul? We kind of we play across that line. And the one thing that I want you to understand is that we're entirely open, entirely transparent, entirely. Anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. As long as you believe in protecting your community, in loving your country, then you're good to go. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you're from. That's it. That's all there is to it.
Anybody else want to jump in?
Well, my question is, given that your legislature authorized the South Dakota State Guard in 2003.
I think that's what it was.
I'm just not figuring out why it didn't why it never grew up, so to speak. I mean, why didn't it become an actual organization?
Well, right. Why doesn't somebody who, I'm not the guy. I'm just a guy that is trying to put together a kind of a low-level unit. I just want to be a part of it. I'd like to be in on the ground floor. And what I'd like, if anything comes from this particular portion of time, is that somebody who's listening to this, who has the resources, and they're a veteran, high up, somebody, start it off. Let's get this going. Somebody's got to know a senator. Somebody's got to know a representative. Let's figure out how we can build a state defense force for this state, because other states have them. And that's what I want. I want to be a part of it in my small way. I served my country for 6 years, and that was when I was very young. I've never forgotten that. I still fold my clothes in 6-inch squares and put them in my drawers. I'm 50 years old. I still do it every day. Sure. I still do it every day, and so it's my connection to be able to be a part of it. So I just am looking for. I'm not the guy. We got us a little something that, you know what? If it's just the three of us, then it's just the three of us.
Okay. Well, with that, we're coming up on break here, but I do want to thank you for coming by and joining us.
I appreciate it, Paul. I really do. Thank you very much.
We'll be right back right after this. Okay, cool. We're all right, just about 10 seconds over 15 minutes. So, thanks again, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I was happy to be here. I hope I didn't ruin too much.
No.
I'm used to this.
No, you're cool.
Just want people to understand that it's nothing to be afraid of, and it's everything to embrace. It's everything to embrace.
Okay, we ready to do the intro then?
Yeah.
I think so.
We'll see you later, guys.
Gary, can you sit in on the intro?
You ready to do intro?
Yep.
Let's stick this on the desk.
Yep. Okay, let me make sure I've got. Yep. And everybody heard that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
We need to stop before Rachel falls off the podcast.
As soon as
I'm
Gary
doing
sits
pretty
back
well
down,
so
we're ready to
far.
go.
Is the duct tape working?
Yeah, probably so. Actually, funny you should say that. Yeah, I was talking to my brother about duct tape earlier. Not the one who lives here, like the little one.
Okay.
I'm not sure which brother is which.
I was talking with a little brother, teasing him about using duct tape to make sure that he stayed quiet if necessary.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
It was only a joke, I promise.
Do they have what do they call in California? It's called Child Protective Services. What's it called in Texas?
Yep.
Same thing, huh?
Same thing.
Okay.
How'd that interview go?
Pretty decent. All right. Gary, you ready?
I am
All right, here we go. Coming back in 5.
live.
Hi, and welcome to the Polite Society Podcast, recorded live on Sunday, October 12th, 2014. I'm Paul Lathrop.
I'm Rachel Malone, and on tonight's show we talk with Kevin Coyne about a constitutional militia.
I'm John Richardson, and we'll talk about the campaign to stop gun violence, trying to get a sheriff in trouble because of his beliefs.
I'm Gary Doherty, and we'll talk about some new research from Dr. John Lott Jr.
I'm Rob Morse, and in one of our DGUs, we talk about a domestic violence incident that turned into a DGU.
In Iowa this week. All right, I'm Gary Harpster, and we have a discussion about packing your bug-out bag.
So climb aboard.
Strap in.
And hang on.
Episode 275 of the Polite Society Podcast starts right now. Hey, and welcome back. This is the personal news segment of the podcast. I start every time, so I'm gonna lay off and I'll go last this time because I always get to go first. I'm gonna let other people go off. Starting on the bottom of my display here, we have Rob first up. Rob, what's been up with you this week, man?
I've just got in some dry practice. I've been writing. Realistically, most of my life is working home just like everybody else. The great news is my ammunition arrived. The bad news is I wasn't home to sign for it, so I have to go pick it up on Monday.
Oh.
You need a UPS driver like mine. He would have just left it.
The guy, yeah, mine might have. This was FedEx. I don't think that guy knows me.
So what kind of ammunition did you order?
A friend needed some, and I was running a little low, so I got 1,500 rounds of .45.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. I thought maybe you'd found the magical outlet that ships 22 long rifle.
Oh, speaking of 20, okay. Now this is a stretch to call it gun related, but either my belt is stretching or I'm losing weight, and I was on the last belt loop, and a guy goes, "Oh no, just go take a 22 casing, squish it so it's oval, and use that for a punch to punch a new belt loop." It doesn't quite work. It crushes. But a 223 case will work.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, nice.
Well, it's the same diameter.
Yeah, you'll never be able to reload it after that.
I wasn't going to reload either case. Paul, this may come as a shock, but
okay.
That just is. I give away my brass bucket to either scrap or my reloading friends.
Oh, believe me, there was. We'll talk about this later, but there was a lot of brass that was laid down at the range day yesterday.
Cool.
Rachel, you're up next. What's been up with you?
I killed zombies.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. Finally happened. So I got to kill the zombies in the super burning hot sun on Friday. It was just under 100 degrees. It was hot and dusty. I ran in the afternoon, so it was the hottest part of the day. So I worked up quite a sweat. And then a cold front blew in that afternoon, that evening, and so the next day, Saturday, was when all the participants ran, and they had pouring rain as we sent out most participants all morning. It was freezing cold. We were huddled up in warm jackets and raincoats and rain gear, and there was intense mud, and a lot of the trail, none of it is paved. I mean, you're going through either pastures or creek beds or whatever. So they were sloshing through all kinds of mud and climbing through obstacles in mud, doing low crawls. It was great. We told them it was going to be fun, so we just tried to brainwash them that way. But I was really impressed. Yeah, this will be fun. Believe me. I was really impressed that everybody still showed up. I mean, we had a couple no-shows, but we always do anyway. I was surprised. I was very impressed. I was pretty busy most all day Friday and Saturday, but I was able to grab about 5 participants for a quick interview, and I think we're going to be airing that sometime soon. So they had some great insight and some stories about their experiences. So every time I do the zombie run, this is my 4th run, I have a really specific goal for the run. I don't view it as a competition against everybody else, but just against myself. Kind of a dare to see if I can make my goals. So this year I had kind of simple goals. Just I was going to actually carry more gear instead of going super simple and light like I usually do. And then I wanted to improve my overall time. So I didn't take a lot. I still streamlined a lot, but I mean I took gun cleaning gear. I took medical stuff. I took food. I took water. I took just personal supplies. I even took like water shelter. I took fire building. So like all my basic necessities that I would carry in a just super basic bag. That's what I took. And I definitely improved my overall time. A lot's better than last time because my ankle was fine this time. But even the best ever time I've done by far. And I learned some really helpful things about myself and how I can improve my abilities. One thing that was interesting, it kind of hit me after the second shooting stage, I think. I thought, I'm overthinking everything. I'm trying really hard. I'm trying to game it or to think of how I can do better, and it's hurting me so bad because I felt like I really did a bad job at those stages. Much worse than I knew I could have done. So I just thought, next stage, I'm going to go kill zombies. Whatever it takes, I'm going to kill the zombie. And my shooting really improved after that. So that was something I learned about myself.
Rachel?
Yes.
When I compete, I'll often overthink something, and I've sort of adopted the shoot until empty, reload, and keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly, okay. Precisely.
So then my question would be, if you were out killing zombies, did you run into either Daryl or Rick out there? Because I think they're supposed to be coming back this week.
No, I did not.
Okay. All right. I just, Susan says they're in Georgia, not in Texas. Okay. Of course, speaking of the Walking Dead, the TV show that's supposed to be coming back on this week.
Yep.
So next up,
before we go on, did we actually mention that this was the Battle Road Zombie Run relay?
Yeah, we should mention that. It's at Battle Road USA.
This is not Hollywood. This is not the apocalypse.
This is Battle Road. This is where we actually real people go out and really shoot for real, but the zombies aren't real. They're just fake. They're just steel targets.
Okay. And then we have next up is John. John, what's been up with you, man?
Well, I spent yesterday afternoon at the Land of Sky gun show, working at the Grassroots North Carolina booth, and we were handing out voter guides which evaluated every candidate in the state of North Carolina from State House to U.S. Senate on how they stand on gun rights. The guides provide the info, but it's still up to each individual to make their own decision for whom to vote. Just thinking about the gun show, this is my first one this year. Early on in the year with the broken ankle, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But it seemed like attendance was down this year a little, or at least right now. But I think, the gun buying, for lack of a better word, hysteria is kind of over, and prices are starting to return to normal. I didn't price any .22 ammo though, but I did get pick up some rifle ammo at decent prices. $20 for a box of 6.5 by 55 Swedish Mauser for $20, and I got some 6.8 SPC for $16 a box, which to me was a good price. So
Cool.
we handed out a lot of voter guides, and most people seemed appreciative.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, the folks in North Carolina paying more attention to this midterm election process than you've seen in the past? Have you noticed anything like an improvement or an increase or decrease,
Well,
or
there's a
about the
lot
same?
more ads because Kay Hagan is running for re-election to the U.S. Senate. She's running against the guy who's the Speaker of the North Carolina House of Representatives. A lot of money is being poured into the state. I just had to shoo away a Democratic volunteer earlier this afternoon who was trying to ask my wife, like, now, how is your wife planning to vote? Like, it's none of your business.
But the masses, I mean, you know, the average guy on the street, do you think they're paying more attention to the midterms than normal years, or what are you seeing?
I don't know. I don't get that feeling. I haven't had people talking to me, like at work or whatever, about the elections. I just see a lot of ads.
Yeah. Up here, just a huge difference. I would say it's, like not as much because our political system is a little bit one-sided, the side that I like, so that's kind of good. But I'm amazed at the amount of conversation for a midterm that we're seeing in South Dakota. For midterm elections, and they're following it everywhere. I mean, I have people come into the store, they're talking to me about the Colorado race, they're talking to me about the Kansas State race, they're talking about, where McConnell's in a tight heat. And I can remember going midterm after midterm after midterm and never talking with anybody, even close friends, really much about who was running or who was doing anything.
No, I have talked to some people. I mean, we joke Kay Hagan seems to be running for the State Board of Election because mainly her main talking point is Speaker Tillis has cut $500 million from the school budgets, which is the largest budget in the state. $500 million is a lot, but it's not. It's still probably more than they had last year.
Ah, good point.
The thing in North Carolina is that all teachers are paid for by the state, not the local school board. So
is this, it was a cut in benefits, meaning it was a reduction in the amount of increase?
Oh, yes. Well, no, it was a cut in benefits, not a cut in the rate of increase. I mean, it really was just a cut in the rate of the increases. And they gave teachers a substantial raise, not the 20 and 30 year service teachers, but the newer teachers who had not gotten any pay increase over the last 5 years, starting with the Democrats. For example, my stepdaughter just got an 18% pay raise. It was her first pay raise in 5 years. She had earned it. But you've got, the Senate Democratic Majority PAC, which is Harry Reid. You've got the NEA. You have the Democratic Senate Campaign Committee. They're all just I heard they're going to dump $9 million into this race. So that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. Well, next on my list of faces down here then is Gary. So what's been up with you since the last time you were on the air?
Interesting week. First of all, we had Customer Appreciation Day yesterday.
Yep, I was here in the morning. You weren't.
Yep, I saw you. I saw that you were. And you guys were out blowing things up in the afternoon. Wonderful day. Great turnout. A lot of customers have grown to understand that Customer Appreciation Day isn't necessarily a day you come in to buy anything. It's a day you come in to eat and socialize. So we had people here all day socializing. And then, of course, the entire crew. I want to thank the people of the city of Sioux Falls and the hockey team, because our entire staff got to go to the opening hockey season last night.
So, just wish the game would have went better.
Yeah, they all wish the game went better, but they love that new Denny Sanford arena. Everybody just thought that was a walk on water, beautiful place. So busy week for that. We also, I want to say hello to some of our listeners, American Constructors out of Austin, Texas. Wonderful guys called me this week. we did some business with them down there we're sending them down a couple of GP medium tents for storage for their construction equipment. Top-notch group of guys. And then we started getting a lot of calls, and everybody's familiar with the Ebola thing. Ran out of food the second time in 3 weeks. I have been completely bought out of all of my disaster readiness food. And I ordered on Friday. Today is Sunday. What I've got coming in, I'm already sold out of.
Wow.
So that and I, being a disaster readiness person, I say it's a good idea. And you know me, I'm thinking 90 to 180 days. You don't have to have that $500,000 deal. From a retailer's point of view, you always want to be happy when you have a product on the shelf that moves. From a prepper's point of view, you like to be able to tell people that you should normally be that way rather than having them react to the scare. Think about the long-term types of things. Coming up, we got our Disaster Readiness Class 101, Wednesday the 22nd. Come on in at 7 o'clock. Any of the people, within the 5-state area that want to come over, about 2.5 hours. We cover the basics, what we're going to do for kids. So we've been laying that program out this week to be ready for that. And then, of course, next Saturday, we're starting to get ready for our concealed carry class again. One of the 4 we do every year. Responsibly Armed LLC out of Rapid City's coming over. They're going to teach the ladies handgun class in the morning. So, again, any folks looking for a CCW or maybe just some more knowledge, particularly what I like about these folks is they come in, that morning class is just for the gals, which makes it nice because even if you're not real familiar like Rachel is with handguns, but you want to be, you can get your questions answered. You can take a look at some different choices you might have. So we've been getting ready and lining all that stuff up. So we have had a very, very busy week. Again, thanks to all the Polite Society podcast listeners who have contacted us this week. It's been a wonderful interchange of communication. So
very cool. Very cool. Got one more face before we get to me, and that's Gary Doherty down on the bottom there. And Gary, what you been up to, man?
I've been shopping.
You've been shopping?
Show and tell.
Oh. Now, for the people that are going to get this on audio and are not watching it live, what have you got in your hands?
I have my first Glock.
Awesome.
30.
That's a Glock 30?
It's a Glock 30, 45.
That's 45 caliber, right? Yep.
Yep.
Nice. Now, is that the slim frame, the Glock 30 SF, or is that just a regular Glock 30?
Just a regular Glock 30.
So have you had it out to shoot it yet?
Haven't been to shoot it yet. Not done yet. More show and tell. Speaking of Glocks, you and I had a conversation about...
That's not a Glock.
This is my 1911.
It's got the wide...
Sort of.
15 rounds of 45.
Okay.
So that's my Glock capacity 1911.
Is that a Para or a STI?
Para. So, no, I haven't gotten to shoot. Just picked them up.
Is that the Glock with plastic sights, or are they metal?
I think they all come with plastic sights, don't they?
Yeah. But the first time I was with a bunch of guys, and we were teaching one-handed reloads.
Uh-huh.
And about a third of the guys ended up sightless after they tried it.
Sure. Yeah.
So, okay.
There's an alternative to that between the knees.
Yes.
You're not racking it off the belt and ripping sights apart if you're in that.
If you have plastic sights, use your knees.
I would. Yeah. So I'm excited. Going to go shooting this weekend, of course. Or this week, of course. Found a great new gun store here, Moochie's. Joe, super nice guy, very helpful, friendly. So I'm excited.
Very cool.
I just read that the former Mrs. Glock is suing her former husband, Gaston Glock Sr., and all his companies for I don't know, $500 million.
You get pocket change.
Well, he had cut her and his first kids from the first marriage out of all control in the company.
The whole thing is so messed up. It's it's crazy.
Well, I downloaded the federal complaint, the lawsuit.
Uh-huh.
I've never seen a lawsuit that was 354 pages.
Oh,
reading
ouch.
8 pages. So it's like a novel.
There are going to be some very rich divorce lawyers off this.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Those are the winners right there, the divorce lawyers.
Well, she seems to have a case. Her and her children, who have helped build that business, he just fired them all at once, big swoop. So they
I think you're right.
So maybe not necessarily one of those unfounded divorces.
Now the judge gets to sort it out. That will be expensive.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, looks like I'm the only one left, and I kind of did that intentionally because I'm going to take up a little bit of time here. First of all, we had range day yesterday. Got up yesterday morning, came down to here to ABN, said hey to everybody, picked up a new range bag, and then Susan and I went out and did some range day, and she got to shoot her brand new Glock 23, and so thumbs up, thumbs down. She's giving me a big thumbs up, so yeah, she enjoyed her time out there yesterday. Put a bunch of range down, both in her handguns and mine. Put rounds down range, and I found out that you can make 50-yard hits with a Glock 23, with a Glock, 22. You can. I used my Glock 22, and you can make 50-yard hits on a man-sized target. It's not the easiest thing in the world, and I scared him a bunch before I hit him. But yeah,
and good for you. You stood there.
Osama bin Laden was really nice for me. That's what we were using as a target. Is a mock-up of Osama bin Laden. He stood very still for me. Was very patient, and I scared the hell out of him. But I eventually pegged him, and was pegging him fairly regularly once I figured out what I was doing.
That's good, Paul. In a lot of cases, scaring the criminal usually does it. You don't even have to fire a shot. So I'm glad you're practicing that part of yourself.
There you go. I'm channeling my inner Matthew McClatchy and doing warning shots, but trying to strike with them. So, but yeah, that, and as anybody that looked at the Polite Society podcast webpage will see, there was a flat screen TV that met its demise with 15 pounds of tannerite, and it made a really impressive boom. But had just a black, again, Kevin, who y'all will hear in a little bit on the show, he was there, had a great time with him. Matt from Sioux City, who was coming up for a while and come joining us on the show every once in a while. He was there and brought most of his armory with him, and it was just all kinds of fun. Couple other things I want to get to. First of all, when I was getting ready for range day early yesterday morning, I was doing a little bit of research, a little bit of work on the show notes. And I had on my tablet, I had some YouTube videos just set to play. And being somebody who came into their own in the 80s, I consider myself a child of the 80s. I was born in '69, but that's where most of my music taste lies, in the 80s. Well, Robert Palmer's Addicted to Love came up as one of the videos that played. And I looked over. I hadn't seen that video in a number of years. But a couple things about that. Number one, watching it now at 45 as compared to when it was, I was probably 17 when it came out. A couple things. Number one, I just realized those women can't play a lick of music that are in his band. And then I realized...
Well, that's just because this is the first time you noticed they were carrying guitars, yes.
Yeah, and then I realized I really don't care that they can't play. And the other thing is, and I still believe that's still the best music video ever made. I quit watching music videos a long time ago, but I don't think anything will ever top that. And the other thing that came out of that is I had to do the math to figure out how old I am. I think that means I'm getting old because I had to take 1969 away from 2014 to realize, hey, I actually am 45 years old now.
Shows you how lucky all the people are who were born in 2000. They never have to do that math.
There you go.
Yes, this is true.
Then another thing, Black Deer Hunter, a friend of mine on Facebook and supporter and listener of the show. I believe he's actually one of the people that is watching now on YouTube. He shared the stream on Facebook as we were getting started, but he started a new website, gunownerssociety.com, and there's two back-to-back S's there. Gun owners, as in plural, society.com. He asked if I could kind of help up setting up a place there for our show, and I said I would. And I can't spend a ton of time there, but I just kind of did some work there a little bit, and I'll be going back and doing some more as I have time. But just wanted to throw a shout out to him. And then the last thing, and I'm going to take a little bit of time on this one. The last thing I want to talk about is what was that, Susan? Thursday or Friday? Friday it was. I came across a video, and I didn't even play the video. I just seen it and seen who it was from, and just kind of ignored it. And then I got home, and Susan said, there's this really awful video. Who is this Gun Nuts Media? And I'm explained to her who Gun Nuts Media was, and she then explained to me what the video was. Apparently, at least two people, we never got to see any of them, but put 50 pounds of tannerite somewhere in the ground and then baited food for wild hogs. Waited till there were 9 of them around and touched off the tannerite.
Holy.
You cannot see. They end it just at the explosion, but Susan says you can see 1 or 2 of the pigs flying through the air. I don't think that was a fatal shot for all the pigs. It was inhumane. It was immoral. In a lot of areas, that would be illegal.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this right here and right now, and if it comes back to bite me, I don't care. Caleb Giddings, who is one of the people behind Gun Up, and who is the retail section is now Gunocracy, is the person behind Gun Up Media, meaning Gun Up the magazine. He is the person behind Gun Nuts Radio. And I don't care if he has been on Top Shot, and if he is a more accurate shot than me. He is wrong for promoting that. He is an idiot, and he and I have had a discussion about this. I will never in my life give the people at Gun Up another penny.
Paul, how is he related
as long as they are promoting stuff like that?
Paul, how is he related to the video?
He is the one that posted it for Gun Nuts Media. He shared it and backed it up and said it was the funniest thing in the world. Now, I can't repeat exactly what he said. However, there was a person that had, before me, and I did, as myself, I didn't do it as a show, as myself, I posted that I thought this was not a cool thing and had a discussion, but as somebody before me had said something, he basically said, get the insert swear word that starts with the letter F off my page. We don't need people like that. Please, Caleb Giddings, get off my side. That's a good place. Unless, do you guys want to discuss that, or if you want to step aside and not say a word, I understand. If anybody wants to step in, go ahead.
Well, I'll step in for a second. I'm going to agree with you 100% that was absolute. The act was absolutely unconscionable. I mean, I can't believe under any regardless of whether or not it's illegal in any state, to say that it's immoral as well as inhumane hands down, there is absolutely nobody. Now, you and I have had business with Gun Up.
Yes.
I hope they apologize.
If they do,
I hope, because those are generally most of the business we've had with Gun Up. I think most of the people has been good. And I know, having reached the age that I have in life, that there have been times when I have done really stupid things that I have wanted to apologize for, that I wish I could take back, both things I've done and said in my lifetime. And I will hope that they are such that they've had some second thoughts about it, maybe through either my venue here at the store or your venue with the show, they will let us know that they've changed their mind and feel that way, because you're right. There's no reason to promote it. It was a stupid act. It should be condemned, and hopefully they'll come around to that side. I'd like to see that happen.
Yeah. And Susan just showed me a note, and I was aware of this, but I had forgotten. YouTube actually pulled that video. Eventually, I think it was yesterday, they pulled the video because they said it violated their terms of service. So.
All I can say is that I'm not going to rehash it, but I agree with you 100% what you said, Paul.
Okay.
There you go.
Yep. All right, well, I think then this is a good place to go ahead, and we're going to step aside for break, and we've got another huge news segment to come up. So hang on, everybody. We'll be back right after this.
Wonderful, wonderful. I was unaware of that story for Gun Up number one, so when I get a chance to this week, I'm going to talk to him about it, because that's not a good face foot forward.
No. And now I want to be clear. Caleb, the only thing he did was post it. He did not. He was not a part of filming it.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, but he posted it and defended it.
Yeah, and they shouldn't have done that. And I agree with you.
Okay.
Interesting.
If you would, please, Susan, just so that.
Where do you want to insert the live ad in the show?
Yeah, we're going to do that right here in just a second. But
okay.
If you guys go to Gun Nuts Radio, you can still see the link for that video is there. If you click on it, it will come up and say it's been removed. But you can see some of the various different comments that people have made and Caleb's response to those people and how rude he was.
I potted you back down so you don't have to worry about it.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, do we want to go ahead and do that live ad quick?
We can.
Okay.
Yeah. You just tell me when you want to do it, we'll do it.
All right, let's coming back in 5. How do you want me to bring you in? What do you want to throw to you at?
Gary, what's new on sale this week at ABN, or what new products you got, or whatever?
Okay. And we are again recording it live at ABN Army Surplus in Sioux Falls, and Gary's with us. Gary, what do you got going on new at the store here, man?
All right. Well, first thing, I think a week or two ago we talked about the bulletproof vests.
Mm-hmm.
They're here, bullet safe. That's sitting right up there on the mannequin, as you can see. Those are the new tactical bulletproof vests. Had some comments about it. Had a lot of people looking on the last couple of days, and just want to let everybody know, here's the thing with the vests. We're not really making any money off them. We're selling them for $300. They cost me darn near that, within about $20 or $25 to actually bring those things in. They're what retailers will call a loss leader, right?
Right.
A lot of guys have asked about them. We hope they'll come in, look at them, pick up pants, shoes, boots, something like that. But they are available. We can order them. And then the second thing that's going to be new and interesting for us here that we haven't had a lot of in the past, but we're going to more strongly emphasize, is EMI, which is a company that will be providing full first aid stuff. So we're talking about now being able to have emergency medical, paramedic, trauma kit type stuff here. Now, it's not the $45 first aid kits,
Right.
We're talking about several $100s. But if for those listeners out there that are putting together their prepper packs or their traveling bags or whatever that are looking for a little bit higher a grade, looking for blood pressure cuffs and stethoscopes and trauma kits and blood clot packs and those kinds of things, we have full access to that as well. And I am also want to let everybody know that we're actually hiring somebody to do our electronic media. His second interview will be tomorrow. Got a nice vet, Afghanistan vet. I had a part of a tank roll over his foot.
Oops.
And had some emergency medical. Came back to the States. He's going to school now for computer sciences, and hopefully we will have somebody on board this next week who will be his sole task here at the store will be just to get our website up where I want it to be, and our eBay store and Amazon and that kind of thing. So as we talk about the show the next few weeks, just to let everybody know we are expanding to those kinds of markets, making it easier for the national and international listeners of the podcast to be able to get product from us. As always, our listeners here on the show get better prices than anybody else does.
So if somebody were to want to get a hold of you about maybe the bullet-resistant vests or some of the other things you got going on, how do they get in touch with the store, man?
Easiest way to do it's Gary, Gary, at abntactical.com. You can also call the store at 605-357-8855. Those are the two easiest ways.
Awesome. All righty, there we go. Right at 3 minutes for that promo. All right, are we ready to kick off into news?
Yep.
Let's do it.
And Gary Doherty, I think you're up with the first one. You want to bring us in?
Sure.
Ready when you are.
Hey, and welcome back to the Polite Society podcast. Let's start off with our news segment. I've got the first one here. And we left the age of law and entered the age of bigotry. Here's the latest proof. Wicomico County Sheriff Mike Lewis said he would stop an unconstitutional overreach by the federal government if the feds tried to seize firearms from honest citizens in the state of Maryland. The sheriff said such an overreach could lead to a civil war. The way I read it, the sheriff was trying to stop such a civil war by stating from starting in the first place. Sheriff Lewis' direct comments were too much for the same Bloomberg gun grabbers. The Coalition to Stop Gun Violence wants Wicomico County Sheriff Mike Lewis' teaching certification revoked. Sheriff Lewis teaches and serves on the Maryland Police Training Commission. The only way a certification could be revoked is if the Training Commission calls for a staff review. The staff review would be the result of a request. The review would determine whether the person had violated any commission regulations. Anyone can make a request. We'll see if the Maryland Police Training Commission has been so politicized as to silence a sheriff who recognizes the oppressive actions of a federal government and respects the rights of his citizens in Wicomico County.
CSGV considers Sheriff Lewis a thought criminal and that they want to be the thought police. And there's a great way to respond to it. Do as I and David Codria have said just in a blog post, sign the petition in the name of a famous tyrant.
You mean like Joseph Stalin or maybe didn't Hitler already get used?
Hitler got used by David. But
Okay.
that's exactly what I mean. I used Heinrich Himmler, who was head of both the SS and the Gestapo, but you could use Pol Pot. You could use Felix Dzerzhinsky, who started the KGB.
You could use Barack Obama.
You could.
Okay. Who's got the next one?
Rob.
Rob, your mic's muted.
Still no.
Edit point.
There we go.
Dr. John Lott writes and researches at the Crime Prevention Research Center. Mass public shootings, where the shooter intends to commit mass murder on a public place, have not exploded over the past 5 years. That's the claim we frequently hear being made in the media. The mass murders have not increased either in terms of the number of attacks or the number of people killed in each attack. Indeed, evidence points to a slight decline in public murder. When the public shootings involve in these so-called, when the public shootings involve using so-called, air quotes here, assault weapons, the attacks were no more deadly than the attacks that involved any other sort of firearm. Quoting Dr. Lott, the new data from the FBI is so full of errors that, and this is where the quote starts, their numbers should not be relied on for any type of policy analysis, close quote. You know, when you tell the United States government that one of their major law enforcement agencies has put out something that's unusable, that's a strong statement.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, actually. It makes me wonder. I know a lot of us have used FBI data and various statistics that supports gun rights, and I wonder what Dr. Lott would have to say about that specific data. I know that's older than these new findings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know, something to look up and research on. Moving on, y'all have all heard me criticize county bureaucrats for their political decisions, but right now I just want to say thank you and well done to the Board of Commissioners in Lee County, North Carolina. The commissioners rescinded a ban on civilians carrying firearms in most county buildings. The vote was 4-3, and the reason is fascinating. The North Carolina General Assembly passed a law last year that now allows local governments to set firearms policy. This will lead to a patchwork of laws that vary from county to county and town to town. Council Chairman Charlie Parks said he supported the measure to have another layer of security because people already bring concealed weapons into government buildings despite signs on doors that prohibit them. He says, and I quote, "We've already had reports of that, about people who don't have permits and are actually illegal in what they're doing. What the signs do, they just tell the criminal that it's a target-rich environment where they have the ability to utilize their weapons if they want to," end quote. Chairman Parks gets it. Thank you, sir. There are 4 other counties that have a similar ordinance, and the new rules go into effect in 2015.
I would say well done.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And he realizes that a gun-free zone is a target-rich environment.
Yes, and people can bring guns anyway. They're not going to keep guns out, so might as well allow the good guys to have them. Duh, right? What we say all the time. It's so good to hear it from somebody who actually has the power to make this happen.
Well, continuing on in North Carolina, Grassroots North Carolina will be seeking an injunction against somebody who doesn't get it. And that would be Agriculture Commissioner Steve Troxler, who has decided to post a North Carolina State Fair against carry by concealed carry permit holders. I should note here that Troxler is a Republican, not a Democrat. This decision flies in the face of a recent change in law that allows concealed carry holders to carry at, quote, assemblies that charge admission. The only state properties that are posted against carry are the state capitol, the executive mansion, the governor's western residence, and courthouses. The state fairgrounds are not on this list. They are not considered private property, which is you could post, and they most certainly are not a local government. Legal experts have cast doubt on Troxler's efforts to post the fairground. With the state fair opening this coming Thursday, we should know by next weekend if North Carolina judges can actually read the law.
One would hope so.
Yeah.
So you can't have guns on the executive mansion. Has anybody mentioned this to the security guards walking around the executive mansion?
Well, no. If you are a concealed carry permit holder, you can't carry at the state capitol, the governor's residence. He also has this what's called the governor's western residence.
Yeah, I was just pointing out the hypocrisy, John.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Silliness.
You know, but if the governor isn't a sworn officer, then technically the governor can't even, because...
Right.
There you go. All right, well, the next story, then, we're told we must restrict the human right of self-defense because that right is simply too dangerous to allow in our modern society. Of course, we're told a lie. The obvious question we have to ask is the many groups is this: firearms are too dangerous compared to what? Now, Professor A.W.R. Hawkins puts firearms accidents into perspective. We are 69 times more likely to die from an accidental poisoning than from a firearms accident. We're 41 times more likely to die in an accidental fall than in a firearms accident. And we are 10 times more likely to die from either accidental suffocation or accidental burns than to die from a firearms accident. Despite those numbers, we don't need a license to have household poisons. There isn't a 10-day cooling off period to buy matches. We don't have one ladder a month laws. Now, that means that there are 23,000 firearms regulations that we have in the U.S. that are not about public safety. Those regulations, they're about control. Thank you again, Professor Hawkins, for looking at the data from the CDC and laying it out for us like you have.
I agree.
Once again, I'm speechless. It just boggles my mind that the writing is on the wall and apparently nobody is reading it. So,
well,
but here's another story that. Sorry, Paul.
I was just say you and I read it.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, what did Rachel say? We'll report the news. Our listeners will get it. They'll do with it what they will.
Right. We put the truth out there, and we can't make people listen. We can just offer it and make it available.
Right. Well, this next one's mine, and I'm sure it's going to get me fired up again.
You take your blood pressure medicine before you come on the show?
Absolutely.
Good. Okay.
This is a good one. This next news item will really upset the Bloomberg moms, which I love to upset Bloomberg moms. A civic group is raffling off a kid's rifle to help fund playground equipment for a rural school. The one-room schoolhouse is so remote that it takes an hour to reach a paved road. The Crown King School in the Bradshaw Mountains has a dirt playground except for a basketball court. Troop 1A of the Arizona Rough Riders Historical Society donated a Henry Golden Boy Model 22 rifle as the grand prize and raised over $300 for the school.
I think that's great.
Isn't that cool?
That was a good one.
Yeah, we were worried about your blood pressure, dude. We set that one aside for you a couple days ago. Well, with apologies to co-host John Richardson, who teaches at a university, and to my wife, you know, she's worked on campus. We have to comment about the rest of the faculty that have a strange view of firearms and the real world. This comes from the University of Wyoming Faculty Senate, who voted on a position paper for the Wyoming legislature. Faculty Resolution 325 said there was no need for firearms on campus, and that guns frightened them and other students. The Faculty Senate ignored the statistics that there are 1 million sexual assaults on campuses each year. Oklahoma's higher education chancellor, Glenn Johnson, spoke for the presidents of the Oklahoma public colleges when he said, "Universities unanimously oppose allowing more guns on campus." Quote, "We don't need a scenario where permitting the carrying of weapons on campus does anything but add to the danger." Close quote. Really, Chancellor? You just ignored the 11,000 robberies that happen each year in college dorms where students are supposed to feel safe. We've ignored the assaults on and near campuses where the chancellor wants students, staff, and faculty disarmed.
You know, faculties on most campuses, and I would include my own, and in most departments have been taken over by so-called progressives who believe government should have the monopoly on force. They remember the facts when they want to support their leftist opinions, and ignore the inconvenient truths that we really are our own first responders.
Yeah, you know, facts are really stubborn things. And these are the people we let teach our children.
These are the people we pay through our taxes to teach our children.
Ouch.
Yeah.
John, I hadn't thought of it that way, that they really think only the state should have guns. You mean like that paradise called Mexico?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, John, you described the political bias of faculty, and that brings another article to mind that really shows political bias, but it has a happy ending. So I don't know, maybe we should give this to Gary, but I guess I get to get some happy stuff.
Gary, read along. You'll feel better.
Yeah. Just breathe in, breathe out, be happy. All right, here we go. In Corvallis, Oregon, a subcommittee of the Corvallis City Council held a hearing to discuss a ban on open loaded carry of firearms. Second Amendment supporters showed up and spoke up, and it looks like the voice of self-defense was heard. The vast majority of the testimony was for the right to bear arms. One gentleman who testified was a Vietnam veteran. He was the first person to testify, and he was offended by the Cuban flag stuck to the back of a laptop belonging to a member of the city's subcommittee. Not quite sure why that was there. The veteran noticed also that nowhere in the room was a flag of the United States on display. In other testimony, the police chief and the city attorney seemed to be trying to say in as diplomatic of a way as possible that this proposed ordinance that would ban loaded open carry was basically meaningless. It changes nothing in the way the officers would be able to respond, so, hey, if no procedural changes, why go forward?
Well, good for Oregon firearm owners. You know, you have to show up and you have to speak if you want to win, just like you have done many a time.
Absolutely you do, and they did. They have so far. So come on, Oregon, see it through.
I'm glad they got it through despite all the confused opinions. And in Colorado, John Hickenlooper has flip-flopped his opinions on firearms more times than a fish out of water. I think those flip-flops happen on election time frames.
You don't say.
After the murders in the Aurora movie theater, Hickenlooper said he was skeptical that new gun regulations would stop criminals. Hickenlooper flopped again after the murders at Sandy Hook Elementary School, where he agreed to universal background checks. Note that universal background checks would have done nothing in the case of the Sandy Hook murders. Note that Colorado's universal background checks in place, they did not stop the 2013 Arapahoe High School attack. Maybe Hickenlooper is not convinced by the facts. Colorado sheriffs told him the new laws were unenforceable. Hickenlooper signed these restrictions into law after talking with the Bloomberg organization on 3 separate occasions.
Sounds like money talks.
Well, when Hickenlooper had pretensions that he might run for president, and you need a lot of money if you're going to run for president.
Sure do.
What famous bank robber said that's where the money is?
Yeah.
Follow the money.
Well, let's do this. We're running just a little bit long in the news segment, so we're going to go ahead and take a break here. And we still got more news to come when we come back. So hang on, everybody. Right back right after this. Very cool. And hey, I get to bring us back.
Yes, you do.
Francis Slay. Okay.
Rachel,
Francis
could you move
Slay.
your mic up, I guess?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that better?
I heard you popping just a little.
Yeah, did you? Okay.
Vonda Myers Jr.
Guys, I want to apologize. I type a lot of this up. I try and break it down and make it speakable and pronounceable. I'm not always successful.
Rob, you do a great job.
Yeah, well, I do right up until, I hear all of us try and work our way through it, and I go, no, it didn't sound like that in my head when I wrote it.
All right. Let me. So do I just let's see here? How many more stories? I think this is the last one I'm gonna read.
Yeah, but you got a comment here.
Yep. Okay.
By the way, Paul, I did try twice this last week and twice this week to get someone to come and speak on 591.
Yep.
I can call. They don't call back.
Okay.
Who were you trying, Rob?
SAF.
I have somebody over there.
Well, I spoke to David Workman, and then I spoke to their receptionist who said, "Oh, you have to talk to so and so." I said, "Great, I've left a message for him. Leave another one." Anybody else?
You talked to Miko Timsky?
No, I did not.
I'll ask him.
Please.
For Wednesday or for Saturday? Either.
Yes.
All right.
Coming up.
Talking about that.
There was a message about something with instruction, a gun quote.
Oh, at the very end here?
I thought you were an instructor.
He's an instructor in training. He's still got his training wheels on.
I've got. I've received an instructor certificate, but other than instructing friends and helping out in classes, I haven't hung out my shingle and had people pay me. So.
Okay.
I'd still call you an instructor because you do it.
Yeah, that's a little cop out, I think.
Okay, you know why I did it that way? Because when I think of instructors, I think of you two. You want to make me fix that? Come on.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and head off into this second segment for news then. Hey, and welcome back to our second segment of news. I'm going to go ahead and kick off this segment, and it looks like the mayor of St. Louis, Missouri, is consistent in his anti-gun position. Mayor Francis Slay called for a federal or state ban on all guns in major U.S. cities. He's quoted, "Our neighborhoods will not be safe until there is a federal, or failing that, state action to stop the flow of handguns through our cities. I've repeatedly called for St. Louis. I've repeatedly called for that in St. Louis," close quote. The mayor said this was necessary after a recent shooting in St. Louis. 18-year-old Vonda Myers Jr. was out of jail on a previous gun charge. He was wearing an ankle monitor to report his location to the police. He also had a stolen gun and shot at police 3 times before the police shot back and killed him. That is why Mayor Slay says, or Slay, or
right both times.
Yes, says all citizens except police should be disarmed.
Well, I don't understand. He happened to come across police officers who were armed. What if he would have happened to come across citizens?
Yeah. And
why aren't they allowed to protect themselves?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was in jail on a criminal gun charge, and he got released. He was wearing an ankle bracelet. I don't think he was going to be able to walk into a gun store and buy that gun. Does anybody else?
Oh no, the gun was stolen.
Yeah. So, more gun bans are going to do what?
Well, you know, if we could have guns, he couldn't have stolen it from us if we were totally disarmed.
That's right, and you know that all innocent citizens who are disarmed have this like amazing shield about them, and no bullets ever get through it. You know, no innocent people ever get killed, right?
Right.
Weren't you issued that force field when you were disarmed?
Yeah, every time I go through Chicago, the force field just shoots up like I'm on Star Trek. It's ridiculous.
Right. I think these guys will take any excuse for an anti-gun press release.
Oh, yeah. And his police chief's not much better in St. Louis, to be honest. So, well, speaking of being disarmed, Chuck E. Cheese is one of the few chains that ban firearms categorically at all locations. So in further proof that gun-free zones really aren't gun-free, here comes a story from Charleston, South Carolina. The West Ashley Chuck E. Cheese was hosting several birthday parties just last night, Saturday, when an argument erupted and gunshots were exchanged. 2 men were taken to the hospital by ambulance. Charleston police questioned everyone as they left, but they only found balloons and birthday gifts. They're asking the public for any information to contact police.
Now, one of these stories, there were several instances that we came across. One that Susan pointed out to me was, in one of the stories, it was said that it was quite likely gang violence that erupted in there. And so, you know, gun-free zones, great, very target-rich environments for criminals.
And I'll be honest, I don't know the different neighborhoods of Charleston.
But it was a gun-free zone, and the police couldn't find even one of several firearms after the event?
The story didn't mention it.
The suspects must have used some of those ghost guns that my California legislators Now you see them, poof. Now you don't.
There you go. That's finally what a ghost gun is.
That's right. We've talked about the zombie runs, ghost guns, makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
We've talked about the battling initiatives that are up for a vote in Washington State. Now the Washington State Republican Party has endorsed Initiative 591. They did so after a meeting of the Washington Republican Party Executive Board. They also joined the Washington Council of Police, the Washington Council of Police and Sheriffs, Washington State Law Enforcement Firearms Instructors Association, and 17 county sheriffs in opposing Initiative 594. Bloomberg is putting millions into this campaign. The National Rifle Association launched a video capturing the 30 cal gal, that's Seattleite Annette Wachter. Annette is a member of the U.S. Long Range Rifle Team. Her message focuses on the law enforcement opposition to Initiative 594.
You know, we have tried repeatedly to get somebody to come on the show to talk about 591, 594, but so far no luck.
You know, I saw that. I have seen that video from the NRA with Annette Wachter, and I thought it was very well done. And she's very well spoken. And I think, to be honest, it helps to have a woman on our side discussing it.
Mm-hmm. She's certainly earned her stripes. I knew of her for years, even though, you know, I can't even dream of shooting a rifle as well as she does. But wow.
Yeah.
Bloomberg's putting millions into this campaign. Is he putting millions into the initiative or millions into the campaign for electoral positions that are supporting the initiatives? Anybody know?
Bloomberg and a number of other billionaires, Bill Gates, Paul Allen, etc., have put probably by now upwards of $6 to $7 million out of $9 million donated, going for TV ads, etc., and it's going directly to the Initiative 594 committee.
Okay.
Washington's against gun violence, or some stupid thing like that. I mean, I'm not sure what it is, but it's being paid for by billionaires, not by the average person. The largest contribution to the coalition supporting 591 was for non-organization was individual contribution was $1,500 from a guy who was an engineer at Boeing.
Other than the out-of-state guys.
Yeah, but the out-of-state guys are going, donating on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I've heard that people in the high-tech industry, you work for Microsoft, you don't want your name, you don't want the guy who owns your company basically to know that you're donating against his wishes.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that would bode real well.
No.
Yeah, just the last couple of days, it's just come to South Dakotans' attention how much, including Bloomberg, of the millions and millions of dollars that are pouring into this state all of a sudden, literally just within the last few days.
Is it your Senate race or your governor's race?
It's our Senate race.
And it's gotten close, and that's the reason.
That's the reason, yep, is because Rick Wieland is, and he's a nice guy too, I know Rick, nice guy. But he's switched from Republican to Democrat. Yeah, and all of his money out of state, much of it from Bloomberg and any of the guys like that. He's gotten millions in just the last few days to up, and yeah, he's closed the gap now from, Paul, I want to say, wasn't it about 50% gap between him, and now it's down to about a 12 or 18% gap. So that millions and millions of dollars in ads and on television and radio and the rest of it makes a difference. But it bothers me that it comes from out of state. I mean, I'd have no objection if somebody was an opposing point of view, than I have, if it was somebody who honestly felt that way, and it was obvious that the majority of the state felt that way. But
yeah, we're seeing that in North Carolina with Kay Hagan. I mean, she actually skipped a briefing on ISIS to go to a fundraiser in New York City, but denied it.
For her.
And now has finally acknowledged it.
Wow.
Yep, sad.
Very sad.
Well, I'm reminded, this Washington State seems so far away to most of us. It's way on the other side of the country for me. I'm just reminded of a quote by Martin Niemöller. I'll put it in the show notes. But the point is, folks, if you can see what's going on in Washington, call somebody in Washington. Call senators. Call whoever you can. Because this is going to start there, and then your state is going to go, see? They did it in Washington. It's a good thing. We should do it here. Don't let the snowball start. This is a horrible, horrible bill, and you got to...
Yeah, it's why I usually try to give money every year to Cal Guns Foundation. I mean, I live 3,000 miles away, but... quite often what starts in California spreads like a fungus elsewhere. No offense, Rob. And I want to stop it in its tracks if possible.
Well, fortunately, we even let money from North Carolina. You can spend your money in California. We don't mind.
Good.
And thank you for your support.
Why would we?
That's another question. I understand.
Well, I've got the next story, and it's more good news. This is from NSSF. In a press release earlier this week, they stated that the majority of Americans believe that gun violence is a criminal justice problem and not a public health problem. What do you know? In the press release, NSSF, the National Shooting Sports Foundation, says that more than 8 out of 10 Americans believe the Centers for Disease Control should not spend any funds on studying gun violence, but instead should concentrate on viruses and diseases.
I guess like you mean Ebola?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I'm a little worried because that means that, 2 out of 10 think that my doctor should give me firearms advice.
Well,
yeah, that's another way of thinking of this.
Well, my old family practitioner used to give me firearms advice, but it was the difference between Remington, Winchester, and Ruger.
There you go.
Nice.
Unless he's qualified, I don't want that advice either.
Well, he was definitely qualified.
Okay.
I want to, because it got brought up, I want to take a little bit of a diversion here. I seen something on Facebook that I thought was hilarious as all get out. You have a lot of these people that are, I'm not getting my kids vaccinated because then they'll get this or then they'll get that. But then, you know what? The Ebola comes around and, oh boy, I can't wait for a vaccine for Ebola.
Interesting.
Come on.
Reactive rather than active.
Exactly.
It's been my argument for years. And I put a number on it. I could be wrong, but I have always put a number on it. I swear to you, 85% of the people in the United States don't know enough to be allowed to vote. It's unfortunate that it's a right because they don't take the responsibility that goes along with it. They learn nothing about the issues. They learn nothing about a virus issue. They learn nothing about CDC. They learn nothing about vaccinations. They learn nothing about handgun. They just, everybody reacts to that 5 or 10 second soundbite. And in today's day and age, it's just as often you're talking to somebody who'll say, well, yeah, but I saw it on Facebook. And say, you're making a vote based on something you read on Facebook.
Or I heard it on the Daily Show on Comedy Central.
Yeah, exactly.
God, that's making Wikipedia look highbrow, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, there's this quote. Was it from Benjamin Franklin? That you really can't believe everything you read on the internet.
The one I think that was Abraham Lincoln, but yeah.
Right. I read it on the internet somewhere.
Just as good.
Very good.
Wow.
All right.
Dead silence.
Yeah. Why are you typing when my
Gary scrolls
How many
down?
people we got on YouTube?
A couple.
Gosh, Gary, the next one's yours.
Yeah, Gary Doherty, you're up, man.
I know, and Rob's typing over my words, so they're moving around while I'm trying to read them.
It's like shooting a moving target. It's good practice.
Yeah. All right. ABC7 News in Washington, D.C. is reporting that D.C. Council member David Grusso is suggesting that D.C. disarm the police, saying that officers shouldn't have guns. Grusso, speaking at a hearing at the stop and frisk policy of the District Police Department, when he stated, "I think we ought to get rid of guns in the city and that people shouldn't have guns." Grusso then went on to state that his staff urged him not to share his opinion.
Wow. And then, and this guy was voted into office.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll grant you something. If you're going to disarm the people, then yes, you better disarm the police too. Not that I agree with that, but like consistency. I believe in consistency.
I'm with Rachel on that. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think that was David Grusso's point, but that's an interesting approach. Yeah, if you're going to disarm the citizens, the police can go to work naked. Now, you know how this joke ends, right? Civilians should be disarmed because they should call the police for protection. And the police should be disarmed because, well, if they can't do it by hand, then they should call the National Guard. And the National Guard should be disarmed because if they can't do it with their presence, they should call the U.S. Armed Forces. And the U.S. Armed Forces can be disarmed because they can call the United Nations.
Well, and we can just go ahead and disarm the United Nations because the little green men are coming next week.
If you believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then instead of being CHL instructors, we can all give instructions in how to give a good tactical nod. I think I saw some article about how you give a good nod to an attacker to get them to leave.
Tactical nod.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I want to point out, this disarmament thing, it's working out so well for those people in Syria.
Yeah.
it's not working all that well for the people in DC either, Paul.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
You know, I know we were just joking about the internet, but I have to bring it back up. I have seen interview after interview of citizens and police officers in the United Kingdom talking about citizens wanting their gun rights back, police officers wanting their guns. They're adding more guns to the police officers all the time so that they can defend themselves, because gun crime is going up, violent crime is going up all over the United Kingdom. And how does this guy not have an internet connection where he can log on and see this stuff that I see every day?
He doesn't look.
What was...
That's Gary's blood pressure med.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of the old George Carlin joke, you know, when the criminal is in London and the police go, "Stop," or I'll say, "Stop" again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we've told you that Washington, D.C. was going to pass a very restrictive gun law. D.C. Mayor Vince Gray signed this legislation into the legislate. Wow. Edit point. We told you that Washington, D.C. was going to pass a very restrictive gun law. D.C. Mayor Vince Gray signed legislation this week that defined who can legally obtain a license. The bill is valid for 90 days until the City Council holds public hearings. Here are some of the many restrictions on honest gun owner faces in D.C. First, the law establishes that 1,000-foot no-carry zone around presidential motorcades and other large events involving dignitaries and public officials. That said, you must receive notice of the event and then fail to leave the zone in order to be arrested. The law prohibits licensed gun holders from carrying guns into government buildings. There is no reciprocity. Now, you can apply in person in D.C. and try to convince them you need a permit to carry in the district, but good luck with that. The law is there for their convenience, not yours. Living in a bad area does not justify demonstrated need to be issued a license. Having a stalker does. Guns are prohibited. Guns are prohibited on public transportation. We can't have poor people who use public transportation carrying guns. Legislation prohibits guns in universities and schools, which brings to mind what they teach in civics class. Guns are restricted anywhere alcohol is served, so you can't go to a restaurant in D.C. if you're carrying, maybe McDonald's. And also open carry is outlawed.
Are any of these laws going to restrict the actions of criminals even a little bit?
No.
Right. Okay. Sandy, check.
I love the one about no guns on public transportation, because I remember Emily Miller talking about when she finally got her SIG P229 and she went to the police department to get it registered and get her permit and all, and she took it home on the metro. And she asked him, "Is this legal?" So, "Oh, sure, why not?" And I'm just laughing when I think about that.
Well, you know, guns are banned on public transportation here in Chicago, and I'm sure we covered it a while back. There was a machete attack on the L platform here. So.
Yep.
What is it, Rwanda?
No.
Mogadishu.
South side.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what side. It's ridiculous. All right. This gun quote comes from our regular guest and prolific author, Kathy Jackson. She reminds us what it means to train for self-defense. Kathy said, "Education is mentally learning what to do. Training is physically learning what to do under the watchful eye of a coach who can correct any errors you might unintentionally make. Practice is repeatedly doing the task until it is second nature. Testing is doing what you've been taught, trained, and practiced under conditions that allow you to objectively measure how well you can do the task. Reading a book or watching a video isn't training. Competition isn't training. Regular practice isn't training. All of these are good things, but none of them are training."
It's another great quote. Great quote from Kathy. A lot to wrap your mind around, but it's so true. Training is physically learning what to do while a coach corrects your mistakes. And then practice is repeating the physical action perfectly until it's second nature. So, hey, training check. Who needs training? I'm raising my hand. I'm first in line. Anybody else?
Behind you.
All right. Very good. I need training and I need practice.
I get 50 to 100 hours of extra training every year. And even though I'm teaching people all year long, it's easy to slip.
Yes.
I video tape myself when I'm dry fire practicing, things like that. But it's still nice to have another pair of eyes to correct those mistakes while you're doing them. That's the only way you can do it.
Yeah, because you can be a great teacher and know in your brain how it works and help others, but your skills can still slip if you're not training. It's so true.
Right.
All right, well, that'll do it for the news segment. Well, we're going to go ahead and step aside, and we've got interview coming up after this one, and then we've got DGUs. Hang on, everybody. A lot more show to come right after this. 22 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I got to work. I was shooting on 21 minutes. I missed. Sorry.
That's why we're here, to watch your mistakes, correct them.
I keep training. I'm still training.
Keep training. Keep practicing.
Co-host in training.
21 minute segments, they get edited right down to 16 minutes if you do it right every time.
Yeah. So you're volunteering to edit now, right?
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, that's exactly what that was.
You want these shows to come out sometime, right?
Preferably, yes.
By the way, guys, if you want to know what you sound like, I listen to it raw on Wednesdays.
Naked?
Oh my gosh. No, you're raw. I'm clothed.
All right, John, it's your turn to bring us in, man.
Okay. Are we recording?
We're going to give me a second here, and we're rolling.
In 5. Hi, and welcome to the DGU segment of the Polite Society podcast. Our first DGU comes from Texas. A San Antonio homeowner heard a man breaking into his Jeep at 6:30 a.m. on Friday morning, and after he armed himself, he confronted the burglar. He was holding the man until police could arrive when the burglar made a run for it. The homeowner then shot him in the leg, but the man managed to get away. This burglar later showed up at a hospital with a wound to the leg, and when the police were called, they recognized it and arrested him. From what I understand, it is legal in Texas to use deadly force to protect property.
Yeah, but is it smart?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true, but he wasn't protecting property. He was shooting somebody who was running away.
Yeah. And, you know, we're not cops, and it's not our job
No.
to hold people for the police.
Rachel, what do you tell your CHL students?
The private property issue is a tricky one. I try to lay out the law very clearly, but then I also emphasize that you have to make a choice. It's a personal choice. You have to know what the law is so you can make a legal choice, one that you feel comfortable with legally. You also have to make a choice you feel comfortable with morally. There are definitely some times when I think a shooting would qualify legally as a defensive property, but there could have been an element when your person was in danger, you know, someone close to you or yourself. Other cases where it wasn't. But yeah, I mean, I encourage because I want people to think through all the issues involved.
Okay.
Anybody else have thoughts on it?
We don't have the same laws in Illinois, but we don't have the same laws in Illinois, but we do. I do talk about it. Nobody's ever gone through my class wanting to hurt somebody. They only want to protect themselves.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Right.
And let's face it.
Usually, people in my classes are. Go ahead.
I was going to say, those of us with carry license, hope we never have to use it.
Right.
Hope we never have to shoot anybody.
Yeah, I think most of the people who've come through my class have been very surprised at what Texas does allow in protecting property, because they hadn't considered that aspect. But yeah, they need to know the law, just the bottom line. Our next story comes from Iowa, where a man was actually shot in Ottumwa, Iowa. Clinton Leadham had a history of domestic violence that stretched back several years. He threatened to kill his wife several times. On the day he died, Leadham repeatedly put a knife to his wife's throat and threatened her. He did it again, and his wife shot and killed him. The county attorney ruled Leadham's death as self-defense.
It's just a good case of gun control would not have saved her life. A lot of people would have rather she died,
yes,
and her assailant lived, because with strong gun control she wouldn't have been able to have the firearm.
Right.
And not to be picky, but I drive through there all the time. It's Ottumwa, Iowa.
Gotcha.
Well, poor Rachel. She's not old enough to remember the TV show MASH.
Yeah, that's where Radar Riley was from.
Uh-huh.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah, the guy who wrote the original story for MASH lived real near my dad up in Maine. He was a retired doctor.
Yeah, and my understanding is there really is a Crabapple Cove.
Crazy.
It's probably in Muscongas Bay.
Oh, well, I feel better. This next DGU takes place in Boone County, Missouri. William Harper entered a residence looking for someone, or so he said. The people inside the home said the man Harper wanted wasn't there. Harper refused to leave, pulled a gun, and then began to beat the residents. The residents shot Harper. Harper was treated for his gunshot at a hospital and taken to the Boone County Jail. Harper was charged with trespassing, assault, and unlawful use of a weapon. He remains in jail until he produces a $5,500 bond. And Paul, the assault took place at 2 a.m.
And one of my favorite sayings, nothing good happens after midnight.
This sounds like a midnight debt collection for a drug deal.
Yeah, I mean, how many times will you bang on somebody's door saying, "I'm looking for someone," at 2 in the morning and refuse to leave and start beating people?
Yeah, and then why? Somebody tell me, why would you open your door to a stranger at 2 a.m.?
Well, and again, every time if I'm not expecting you at my house, if there's somebody unexpected knocking on my door, there's a gun behind my leg already drawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, gun check. Where's your gun?
Right hip.
Under my elbow there.
On the
Gary,
desk.
you've got them on your table, right?
No, those aren't loaded. The third one is loaded. The
all
two
right,
that I
I
showed you
feel
are
better.
not.
I was worried.
All right. Well, we do have links to each of our news and defensive gun use articles at politesocietypodcast.com. Please share them with a friend, and please bring your friends over and have them give us a listen as well. We'd love to grow the show. Next thing we've got coming up is our listener email discussion, and we'll get to that right after this. That was nice and quick. 6 minutes, 48 seconds. 2 great emails this week.
Yeah, we've got some good stuff to read.
Yeah, on Wednesday we whined a little bit that no one said poop about our kids and guns segment.
Yes, we did. We still haven't gotten comments on that, but hey,
well,
at least we got
just
some
came
emails.
out this morning.
Yeah,
okay,
the podcast. Yeah, the podcast you guys recorded Wednesday came out at 6 a.m. Central Time this morning.
True.
I was asleep then.
Lucky you. Can I take the first? No, because I don't want to bring us in.
Why not?
Who hasn't brought? Because I like spreading that around. Rob,
Okay.
you haven't brought us in yet, have you?
No, but I'd rather not do Jacob's issue here.
Okay, I'll take it then. I'll bring us in place.
There you go.
Yeah, that works.
Well, then you bring us in?
Yeah.
Okay. Who wants to do the next one? Thomas, which is about Muslims?
I don't mind doing it, but it doesn't matter to me. I don't have any opinion.
Cool. People like to hear you.
They're both about that. Both emails are about that subject anyway. So, all right, here we go. Coming back in 5. And welcome back. We're at our email segment, and I would like to encourage everybody. We really do want some email response. We've got 2 fantastic emails that came in that we're going to be reading on this show, but we want a lot more. And Rachel and Rob were a little bit hurt in the backside that nobody has still commented on their kids and guns. So if and I just kind of off the cuff, I don't want to offend you guys, but anyway, let's go ahead and get to the email segment. I got the first one. This came in from Jacob. He says, "Hello again, folks. You may remember me as the bisexual who wrote in some time ago about coming out as a gun owner and how it appears to coming out as LGBT. Let me say that I truly appreciate your response. It was very encouraging and has actually inspired me to take serious steps towards getting a local chapter of Pink Pistol started. It's a national organization promoting CCW in the LGBT community. I've had a chance to take a couple of LGBT friends shooting since I last wrote in, and it's amazing the change it makes in someone when they realize that guns aren't just something bad guys can use against them, but also something that they can use to protect themselves. I've inoculated at least 2 so far in the past few months, and I plan on more. I'll have to start etching tally marks in my rifle stock to keep track of how many conversations I've caused. Anyway, I wanted to weigh in on the trainer who refuses to teach Muslims in her courses. While I understand where she is coming from, and like Paul, support private businesses' right to deny service to anyone, including the rights of bakers not to bake cakes for gay weddings if they so choose, I am truly torn on this topic. While I do believe the trainer has a right not to do anything that makes her feel uncomfortable, this is religious discrimination, pure and simple, and that bothers me. It's a civil rights issue. We wouldn't tolerate if she said no Jews or no black people, but because a number of atrocities committed by a violent and uncivilized minority within the Muslim community, public opinion in the U.S. is so against Muslims that we seem to be okay with this. It's not actually illegal so far as I can tell, because religious discrimination appears only illegal in fields of employment, housing, public facilities, and a few others, but I don't think it's right. As much as the rest of the country hates Westboro Baptist Church, nobody is refusing to serve Christians because they're technically of the same religion as the Westboro Baptists. Why would we refuse to serve Muslims because they happen to share the same religion as some extremist nutbags like the Taliban? If we have reason to believe that someone is dangerous or extremist, then by all means we should avoid them and definitely not teach them to shoot. But because someone is Muslim doesn't mean they're dangerous. For the record, I don't follow any organized religion and have my issues with almost all of them. A great email, man. Awesome email. I would like to comment right off the bat that, I still support Jan. And even to the fact of, I don't believe it should be illegal to discriminate against anybody, even down to skin color. If you do not want to serve blacks or Orientals in your place of business, I believe that's your right. I believe it is political and suicide to do that. If you start refusing blacks, I believe your business, anybody who's of conscious mind, and no matter their color, is going to stop frequenting your business and you're going to go bankrupt. But I don't think you should be legally required to serve anybody. Anybody you choose not to serve for whatever reason in your business, you ought to be able not to serve. I know somebody else has got to have comments about this.
Well, I was going to go back to this skin color because I've grown up in the South, and I remember seeing bathrooms, not in North Carolina, but in South Carolina, marked white and colored. I got to disagree with you there. If you're doing something that is, I'm not talking about Jan Morgan, but if you have a public accommodation, whether it's a restaurant or a motel, hotel, and you're offering yourself out to the public for accommodations or for food, you really should be serving everybody. Now, I don't think baking wedding cakes is the same as running a Waffle House. Two different type things. One is a special occasion. But even with the private business, if you're holding yourself out as for public accommodation, you really should serve everybody.
Can I serve pork?
Yeah.
Even to the public, including the birthday or the wedding cake planners. I don't think if you open your doors up to the public that you have a right. So I disagree with you as well, Paul. You have a right not to serve anybody at any time. You often see it in a bar. We have the right to refuse service to anybody anytime for any reason. But it has to be specific and individual. If you're not going to let a Muslim shoot on your course, it has to be for a reason other than they're not Muslim. If you're not going to allow a black to come into your store, it has to be a reason. Now,
why?
It could be for aggressive. Well, it could be for aggressive. It should be for their behavior.
Individual, correct.
Individual behaviors.
I don't think that you have the right, because if you were to take that right and say, we're not going to serve blacks anymore, you're going to go all the way back to where the Ku Klux Klan was. That we got out of that with the Civil Rights Movement. Yeah, as you have public business.
I didn't say it was smart.
The right to do that.
I believe it is so insanely stupid to do that. I don't think there needs to be a law for it.
Gary, our politicians
agree with you, but
prove every day that it's legal to be stupid.
That's right.
Yeah, it's absolutely legal to be stupid. So, I don't believe you should have a law that says, if Gary, how long would you be in business? How long would ABN be in business if they were to say, and this might actually fly in South Dakota? I doubt it, but if you were Gary to say, we're not going to serve American Indians here anymore.
Right.
There's a lot of them around here, but we're just, they don't come here that often anyway, and they offend me. If you said I'm not going to allow American Indians to come in here and buy our stuff here, you'd be closed down within, I would say, a month or two, wouldn't you?
Right.
And not because of the law, because people, once the word got out, would just stop coming here.
Right. But I think the difference is the perception of the law itself. I don't think the law is always designed to protect the individual, not the masses. The reason that we've got those laws in place is to make sure that there's not one small segment or one possible segment of the society that can be discriminated against inherently by the individual right. Because the mass takes care of themselves. So the Civil Rights Act and the laws that, and John probably more familiar than with I, that came into effect, if you are going to open your door up to the public, I don't think that you have the right to be able to then say only some public is allowed in for a reason other than behavior, because the law is to protect the individual. I think you have the right to say, and I'm going to use the wedding cake people as an example, we have decided to shut our business down because it's come to our attention that we either have to serve everybody or not serve some. I don't think you can just do that based on a specific instance. So I disagree with you entirely.
We're just gonna. I mean, I respect.
I disagree.
I absolutely respect what you're saying, Gary. I respect what you're saying. I see exactly where you come from, but I think we're gonna have to disagree on that one.
No, private club. Remember when they used to have men's clubs? They were private clubs. Women couldn't come in them. Then they had women's clubs.
Yeah.
Private clubs still should have the right to be able to do that because they're private. but I think federal and state law protects the individual. Once you decide to make something public, you should have to have a reason individually that you wouldn't allow service to somebody.
Well, how about this for a reason, Gary? If your religion tells you to enslave or kill me, then no, I don't have to either serve or instruct you.
Very well said, Rob. Well
and
said.
I've yet to hear any Muslim who will deny that that's part of the Quran.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I've yet to meet any Christians that deny that's part of the Bible.
There, I was going to say,
I understand. I mean,
if you're going to take a look at the history, you're going to take a look at the religions, you're going to allow
Bible.
all of them out of there.
Yes, but we've reinterpreted the Bible and said it's still part of our religious belief. To do so makes you an apostate if you say that about the Quran.
But you believe that the majority of Muslims in the United States believe?
No, I've yet to hear Muslims say that.
I've yet to hear one Muslim come out against terrorism. One single Muslim. I've never heard a Muslim of any variety denounce 9/11.
I have on several occasions, but that being beside the point, I don't believe that the majority of the Christians or the majority of the Jewish people or the majority of the Muslims in this country believe in the radicalness that existed within their religions and within their scriptures before. Remember, the Muslims and the Christians fought for hundreds of years. I mean, that's what part of the Renaissance was about.
Dude, Dave never stopped.
Yeah, but so I don't think that because you're an American citizen and you happen to pray to a God that you name Coca-Cola versus Jesus is a reason enough as a business open to the public that you should
Gary,
have
you're
the right
repeating
to
yourself.
discriminate.
You said it before.
Yeah. Yep. Well, let's go ahead. We've hashed this and hashed this. Let's go ahead because we're already almost segment long into one email. Let's go ahead and move on to our next email.
All right, let's do it. The next email is from Thomas, and I'm going to read it. Thomas writes, "Hello. This letter is in response to the instructors who refuse to teach any Muslim shooter. While I do believe that a business should have the right to refuse to provide products or services to somebody, as long as that refusal is not racially motivated. Most of us have met a few nasty customers that we'd love to bitch slap and kick their asses out into the street. But a refusal based upon a person's religious beliefs can be discriminating in nature. That being said, I refuse to instruct any female Muslim shooter how to shoot. Now, my problem with female Muslims is that I am not allowed any physical contact with them. The husband insisted that I tell him first, then he would address the issue. No way. While I'm teaching a first-time shooter, I stand very close behind them and watch them like a hawk, and I stay close until I feel confident that you are following my instructions and being safe. You must do everything that I am instructing you to do. If your muzzle direction becomes unsafe, then I have to take control of the situation physically at times. If I have to stop your hand or any arm movement, then I will stop it. Or if it is a minor issue, I may tap you on the shoulder as well as a verbal command. Sometimes the noise level in a range may be quite loud, and a tap on the shoulder may be required to get your attention. But since I am forbidden to have any physical contact with these students, I lose the ability to safely control my environment. While this is a rare occurrence and has only happened to me once, my safety concerns for the group outweighs any respect for a religious belief." Thomas.
Once again, great email and says it very well.
That he does. That is good. Totally correct, and I agree with that approach 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's. It happens to be that the religion is the thing getting in the way, but if I had any student who would not allow physical contact, I couldn't teach them.
That's right, regardless of their religion.
There's safety issues involved.
Yep. Right.
For me, and
I think
them,
you were a little too anxious to be touching me when I was in Illinois, though, man.
That was a jealousy because your hand was on Frank.
That's true.
Susan, you have an issue you're going to have to deal with. That's all I can tell you. And it's a personal issue that you and Paul should maybe discuss off the air. I'm just saying. If you need a little counseling help, go to mediation. I'm willing to sit in and listen to both sides.
Yeah, I'm staying out of that one.
Yeah.
Rob, rescue us, man. What have you been doing with your blog, bud?
Yeah, please, any change of subject would be good. The organization Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership reposted an old article of mine on armed women. And you know who picked it up? L. Neil Smith. I wrote a new article about activism and the Gun Rights Policy Conference. In that article, I talked about meeting a lot of people who say they support armed self-defense, but it's really hard to take them seriously if they can't get themselves to GRPC. John, do you want to mention anything off your blog?
Yeah. I did a post yesterday about a late reporter named Marshall Brown, and I say he was a reporter and he passed away on Friday. And I call him a reporter and not a journalist because that's what he was. And the reason I did a post on an old reporter is because he was one of us, a gun guy who believed in gun rights. Though he had received a number of awards from the Associated Press, he stated that his most cherished award was the James Madison Award for Journalists from the Second Amendment Society. Given the state of the mainstream media at all levels, it's going to be hard to find anyone like him anymore.
Cool.
He said he was I never knew. I just stumbled across this. This guy was incredibly cool. He was a police beat reporter, carried a gun.
I read your blog post. You said he would often beat police to crime scenes.
Yeah.
And that's on your blog, Only Guns and Money.
That's correct.
Well, before we go ahead and shut the show down, I want to say thank you to to everybody that did the Wednesday show, and to John and some other bloggers that have picked up and shared the fact that we are, and again, I mentioned last week, we're going to be streaming the Gun Rights Policy Conference 2015 out of Phoenix. And we've started a GoFundMe page because, quite honestly, some of the camera equipment and shipping the stuff and some of the equipment I'm going to need to do the streaming is a little more than I thought it was going to be, so we were hoping for some help. I want to thank everybody that has donated so far, and we're up to almost $400 in just a week, which is like really cool.
Cool.
So yeah, we're just about a quarter of the way there in just a week, and we've got 51 weeks to go. So I think we're going to be okay. But thanks to everybody that has donated. For those that haven't yet, if you would please check us out, and if every one of our listeners donated $1, we'd blow the goal out of the water. I don't expect everybody to, so maybe somebody can donate for 4 or 5 people. Maybe $5. That'd be great. And so just go. I'll make sure that's in the link is in the show notes again. But I do think that wraps it up. I'm not going to be here for the Wednesday recording. Rob, John, Rachel, you guys going to be here?
I'm planning to.
Usual crew.
Yep.
Very cool. Gary, you going to be back here? Gary Doherty, you going to be back next weekend?
Absolutely.
Awesome. I'll be here next weekend. So until next time, everybody.
Stay safe.
Be aware.
And we'll see you down the road.
The views and opinions on the show you just heard are those of the host and the guest and are not necessarily the views of any sponsors or other affiliations. But hey, not everyone is as smart as we are.
Awesome. Anything we want to say before I go ahead and take us off live? I just want to thank our advertisers again. ABN Army Surplus, Concealment Solutions, Crusader Weaponry, NJ2AS, and Firearms Safety Institute. And I did get all of them at the beginning of the show. I thought I missed one, but I didn't. So, okay, everybody, see you next Sunday. For you live viewers, come back and see us next Sunday again.